Well, here in Spain, it's Chris McCann's turn to join me in the studio. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm very well, Howard. Yeah, a little bit hotter than when we last spoke, but yeah, still good.
Yes, I think hot is one word for it. But anyway,
Yeah.
we try and keep cool and stay in the shade and do all the things that we're told to do. And that's the way we survive these times. Anyway, our topic is an important one for UK nationals hoping to move to Spain because residency visas post-Brexit. Chris will explain how they work and then look at the tax implications. So to start, Chris, for those who are unclear on the post-Brexit rules, can you summarise how the 90-day rule affects UK and other third-party nationals who enjoy spending a lot of time in Spain?
Well, so pre-Brexit, life for UK nationals was a lot easier. As long as you avoided spending more than 183 days in Spain during a calendar year, you could pretty much visit Spain whenever you wanted to. Since 1st of January 2021, post-Brexit, this all changed. And now, as third country nationals, UK nationals lost the automatic right to come and go to the EU as they please. Under the new rules, non-resident UK nationals can still enter the EU without a visa, but their stays will be limited to 90 days within any 180-day rolling period. This 90-day limit applies across the EU Schengen zone, so you cannot pause or reset your days by spending time in another EU Schengen country. Once you have used up your day allowance, you will not be permitted to enter another EU Schengen country without a visa until you have spent sufficient time outside the area. Anybody caught overstaying could risk deportation, fines, and a record in their passport that could complicate future travel and visa applications. If UK nationals now want to spend more time in Spain, I think they have two options. They can apply in advance for a visa for each extended stay, or unlock unlimited freedom of movement by becoming resident in Spain.
Moving on to residence visas. Many people move to Spain after they retire. If someone wants to set up out of the UK and enjoy their retirement years here, what is the most suitable visa for them?
The basic route for somebody who's not planning to work in Spain, in other words, to retire, is to apply for what's called a non-lucrative visa. It commits you to spending over 183 days in Spain, which means you will be expected to register as a tax resident of Spain and meet all your tax obligations in Spain as required.
Can anyone apply for this visa? What are the conditions?
Yeah, anybody can apply, but you will need to satisfy a number of conditions. I'm going to go through these in order. You must demonstrate that you have sufficient financial resources to support yourself and any dependents without relying on the state. The Spanish government uses what's called the IPREM index to determine a person's minimum annual income. The applicant must have at least 400% of the value of the IPREM in their bank account, which for 2023 amounts to a minimum of €28,800 per year. If you come with family members, you will need to provide an additional €7,200 for each family member. Secondly, you must have suitable medical cover from a Spanish-based insurer for a period of at least 1 year. The insurance must cover all illnesses and must not include any co-payments. You must also have a medical certificate of good health, which in effect certifies that you do not have any conditions that could lead to the health problems could lead to a deterioration in the health of the people already living in Spain. And finally, You must have a UK criminal record check duly translated into Spanish, and you must not have a police record in Spain itself. If you meet all the criteria, you can apply for the visa at the relevant embassy or consulate in the UK with the relevant documentation in advance of moving. You will need to renew the visa after 1 year at the Spanish Immigration Office, and after that, every 2 years. After 5 years, you can then apply for Spanish permanent residence.
What about the golden visa? Who is that suitable for, and is it hard to obtain?
I think the best way to describe the golden visa is as providing a flexible residence option that sits somewhere between the 90 and 180-day rule and the non-lucrative visa. And when I say that, in practice, it allows you to avoid being subject to the 90 and 180-day rule, but also allows you to avoid spending over 183 days in Spain if you don't wish to become resident for tax purposes in Spain. Of course, if you want to, you can spend more than 183 days in Spain and become tax resident. As regards qualifying for a golden visa, you will need to meet the same criteria as for the non-lucrative visa: sufficient financial resources, suitable health insurance, certificate of good health, and a clean police record. What differentiates the application process is the need to have made a significant qualifying investment in Spain. The most common way to qualify for this visa is by buying Spanish property worth at least 500,000 euros. Other routes include buying shares in a company or making a deposit in a Spanish bank of 1 million euros plus, or investing in a new business that offers employment opportunities or other significant local benefits.
Spain recently introduced a new residence permit, the digital nomad visa. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, the recently established startup law introduced special visas for non-EU citizens, including entrepreneurs and international remote workers, otherwise known as digital nomads. Put simply, these digital nomad visas were introduced to make it easier for non-EU nationals to work remotely in Spain whilst offering tax benefits to encourage them to do so. Whilst this type of visa will appeal to working people who fancy living in Spain for a couple of years, they can also be particularly attractive to UK professionals and business people who plan to retire in the next few years. If you are on a high UK salary and your company will allow you to work remotely in Spain, you must be able to move, you may be able to move to Spain under the digital nomad visa and pay significantly less income tax under what's known as the Beckham regime. Of greater benefit, if as part of your retirement plans you'll be selling shares in your UK company or taking large dividends, if you dispose of shares or take dividends while living and working in Spain under this particular visa, you may escape capital gains and or income tax in both the UK and Spain, which will likely be a considerable saving. As a qualification criteria, things are more complicated, and I think it needs to be considered on a case-by-case basis. So I'm not going to go into detail now. If any listeners would like to know more, I recommend that they contact one of our local Blevins Franks partners to discuss it further.
Okay, but let's look at the tax implications, whether good or bad, of obtaining these free visas. Does obtaining the non-lucrative visa automatically make you a tax resident in Spain?
Howard, put very simply, yes. Having a non-lucrative visa commits you, as I've said before, to spending over 183 days in Spain, which means you will be expected to register as a tax resident and pay your taxes in Spain.
And what about those who have the golden visa?
Again, as I mentioned earlier, the Golden Visa gives you the flexibility to choose how many days you want to spend in Spain. If you want to spend more than 183 days in Spain, you can, and you will become resident in Spain for tax purposes. Alternatively, you might want to spend less than 183 days in Spain, in which case you will not become resident for tax purposes in Spain.
And what's the tax situation for those who get a digital nomad visa?
So once you're in the possession of a digital nomad visa, perhaps the main benefit is that you can apply to be covered by the special tax regime known as the Beckham Law regime, which originated when David Beckham was playing for Real Madrid. In simple terms, the arrangement ensured that David paid tax on his salary only, but avoided being subject to tax on any income he earned outside of Spain, such as his sponsorship income. Under this regime, you are effectively considered as being non-tax resident for the year of relocation and for the following 5 years, so for 6 years in total. Any employment income will be taxed in Spain, but at a rate of only 24% up to €600,000. Any other income earned outside of Spain, such as UK dividend income, will not be subject to Spanish income taxes. Any capital gains realised outside of Spain will not be subject to Spanish capital gains tax. And finally, you will not be liable for any wealth or solidarity tax on your worldwide assets. Only your Spanish assets, after allowances, will be liable. One other benefit that we've come across is that if you're taxed under the Beckham tax regime, you can still consider transferring your UK pensions to a cure-ops. A cure-ops, as we've discussed many times on the programme, is a qualifying recognised overseas pension scheme. And it's an overseas pension created to receive monies from UK pensions when the owner has moved abroad. To be able to receive the monies from a UK pension, the cure-ops must be recognised by His Majesty's Revenue and Customs. A cure-ops can provide various benefits depending on your situation and objectives, and so have been a popular option with British expatriates living in Spain. However, the situation has changed recently. Towards the end of 2021, the Directorate General for Tax, or DGT, issued a binding ruling which determined that unless a pension is either a Spanish pension contract or an EU pension, a pension from a third country pension scheme, such as a UK pension scheme, to an EEA pension scheme will be subject to a personal income tax charge, which will apply to the whole fund value. This means that if a Spanish tax resident transfers a UK pension fund into a cure-ops, even if that cure-ops is in a EU country, they will be hit by a very significant income tax charge in Spain. With the digital nomad visa, under the Beckham regime, as you are classed as a non-Spanish resident for tax purposes, a transfer to a cure-ops will not attract a Spanish tax charge and so remains possible. As I mentioned previously, for UK nationals who can qualify and who are planning to sell shares in a business or would like to extract significant funds from a business in the form of dividends or have UK pensions, this new regime, can provide significant protection from both UK and Spanish taxes.
Do you have any final advice, Chris, for those listeners who are planning to move to Spain?
Yeah, look, if I have one piece of advice, it would be to put a plan in place before you move, before you're even in advance of your move. At Blevins Franks, we've been helping people to move from the UK to Spain for over 45 years, which gives us a wealth of experience in relation to helping people develop a plan. Typically, after initial consultation, we would prepare a strategic financial plan for the whole process, from your early planning stages in the UK through to your arrival in Spain and your retirement years in Spain, ensuring that you do everything at the right time and in the correct order. We will advise on which residence option would be most suitable and how to apply for residence in Spain. We would review your savings and investments to ensure they're suitable for you today and set up to be as tax efficient as possible. From an estate planning point of view, we would guide you through the local succession regime and ensure that your estate passes to the right people at the right time with as little tax as possible. Finally, our regulated pension specialists would be able to help to ensure that you make the most of your retirement savings. So, if anybody is contemplating a move to Spain and would like to discuss their wider financial planning arrangements with a local Blevins Franks partner, all they need to do is contact us. Listeners can visit our website, blevinsfranks.com, where they can find the contact details of all of our local partners. If they prefer, they can also complete a contact form on our website, and a local Blevins Franks partner will be in touch as soon as possible to arrange the most appropriate next step.
Sounds quite complicated, but very concisely said. Thank you very much, Chris. We'll talk again in about a month's time, I think.
Yeah, we will, Howard. I look forward to it. It's been a pleasure. Thanks very much.